In this video, I would like to demonstrate the new dehumidification-humidification functions we implemented in SystemairCAD. If we look in the unit data dialog, we can already see that we added some new values for humidification. We now have a summer supply air target set of values. I set mine at 18 degrees, 60% relative humidity. I also have winter settings, 22 degrees, 50% relative humidity. So those values are used to calculate the D and humidification in the unit. Let's configure a unit. Let's just pick a standard configuration, Geniox 18. The new function is found down here in the toolbar, humidification. If I activate it, I can insert it here after the heating coil. You can see that the coil configuration is automatically set as dehumidification. We have a cooling coil and a heating coil. If I mouse over, the entire function is actually highlighted. And if I double click, I enter a dialog where I can see both dehumidification, humidification, or I can even select both. But let's just do a calculation here in the first step. So if I calculate, then I can see that I have my summer temperature and relative humidity corresponding to my target values. Of course, the winter will not correspond to my target values because I haven't added humidification. So let's add humidification. I go into my dehumidification-humidification function, activate humidification, select OK. I would also like to add control system. And if I enter the control system dialog, I can see that I selected humidification, dehumidification, and I want extract air control. If I check the flowchart, I can see that the system has added a relative humidity sensor in the supply air and a relative humidity sensor in the extract air to control the humidity level inside the building. Let's say OK and calculate again. Now we can see that both winter and summer temperature and humidities correspond to my target values. So the system automatically calculates the needed temperature that you need to cool down to create enough condensation. So when you heat up the air to your summer target temperature, then it will meet the target value of the relative humidity. We can also see that the heating coil will heat up the air to a level. When you add humidity in the adiabatic humidifier, the temperature and relative humidity will fit your target requirements. Something we need to be aware of is, of course, that sometimes it requires a lot of capacity to dehumidify. We need sometimes to cool to very low temperatures to make sure that we get enough condensation. And here, of course, we are limited at our default values because by default, we set up a maximum pressure drop of the fluid circuit of 30 kilopascals for the cooling coil and 15 kilopascals for the heating coil. And that will, of course, limit our capacity of the coil. Let's make an example. So I put in 30,000 cubics. I pick a Geniox 31. I add humidification, dehumidification, like that, and calculate. Now I can see that I do not quite meet my target requirements for the summer calculation. I only reached 74% relative humidity. And that's probably because I do not cool the air to a low enough level to create enough condensation to remove the amount of humidity that is needed to meet the 60%. So if I go into my dehumidification-humidification function, go to coil details, I can increase the allowed pressure drop in my fluid circuit of the cooling coil, say OK, and try to calculate once again. Now I meet my summer requirements, 18 degrees, 60%, and also my winter, 22 degrees, 50%. In the printout, we will see that all functions are documented separately, so that we see data for a cooling coil. Here we go. Let me just zoom in a bit. We see data for the cooling coil. We see data for the heating coil. And in the end, we see data for the humidifier. I hope you will enjoy this new functionality in SystemairCAD, and thank you for listening.